What if everything you've been taught about money, wealth, and financial success has been nothing more than a carefully constructed lie designed to keep you trapped in endless cycles of struggle and limitation? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Right now, as you're watching this, millions of people around the globe are waking up to another day of financial stress, another morning of checking bank accounts with anxiety, another 24 hours of believing that wealth is something they must chase, capture, and somehow deserve through endless effort and sacrifice. Has this ever happened to you? That sinking feeling when you realize you're working harder than ever, but somehow still struggling to create the abundance you desire? Here's what the world won't tell you. You were never meant to chase money. You were never designed to strain, grasp, or barter pieces of your soul just to barely keep your head above water. The very idea that wealth requires struggle, that abundance demands suffering, or that financial success comes only to those willing to sacrifice their peace, their relationships, and their spiritual well-being is not divine law. It's collective hypnosis operating on a massive scale. Think about it for a moment. When you observe nature, do you see the trees struggling to grow? Do the rivers fight to flow? Does the sun strain to shine each morning? Of course not. They operate according to natural laws that provide abundance effortlessly, consistently, and without resistance. Yet somehow, when it comes to money and material provision, we've been conditioned to believe that the exact opposite principles apply to human beings. What you're about to discover might surprise you, but every time you've told yourself, "I need to work harder to make more money," or "I have to struggle to prove I deserve abundance," you've actually been operating under a spell, a form of financial hypnosis that keeps you locked in patterns of limitation. This isn't your fault. This programming has been passed down through generations, reinforced by society, and embedded so deeply in our collective consciousness that most people never question its validity. But here's the revolutionary truth that changes everything. You are not a beggar standing outside the gates of prosperity, hoping someone will throw you financial scraps. You are not a gambler placing bets on whether abundance will choose you. You are something far more powerful, far more magnificent than you've been led to believe. Stay with me until the end, because understanding your true spiritual identity when it comes to money will transform not just your bank account, but your entire relationship with abundance itself. You are a living vessel of infinite supply. Think about those words for a moment. Not someone who needs to attract supply from outside sources, but someone through whom infinite abundance naturally flows when you align with the proper spiritual principles. This means that wealth, prosperity, and financial freedom aren't destinations you travel toward. They're frequencies you tune into, vibrations you embody, and spiritual laws you activate through understanding rather than effort. The question isn't whether you deserve abundance. The question is whether you're ready to remember who you really are and step into the truth that's been waiting for your recognition. Now, I want to go even deeper into this transformation because there's a hidden truth about wealth creation that most people completely miss. Every day, you're bombarded with messages that your financial destiny is somehow tied to things completely outside your control. The state of the economy, your educational background, where you grew up, your family's financial history, even your past mistakes and failures. Society wants you to believe these external circumstances are the determining factors in your wealth journey. But here's what nobody talks about. Some of the wealthiest individuals in human history came from backgrounds of absolute poverty, limited education, and seemingly impossible circumstances. Meanwhile, people with every apparent advantage, prestigious degrees, family money, perfect connections, sometimes struggle financially their entire lives. The difference isn't in their external circumstances. The difference lies in something far more powerful and, completely within your control. If teachings like this speak to your soul and you're ready to consistently receive content that transforms your relationship with abundance, hit that subscribe button. This channel is dedicated to people who refuse to settle for limitation and are committed to walking in their divine inheritance. Your belief system is the only thing that truly determines your financial reality. Not the job market, not inflation, not your zip code or your diploma. The mental patterns you've accepted as truth about money and abundance become the invisible blueprint that shapes every financial decision, every opportunity you notice or miss, and every result you create. These beliefs operate like a sophisticated filtering system, allowing only the experiences that match your internal programming to enter your reality. Most people don't even realize they're carrying around financial programming that was installed decades ago. You might be walking around with your grandmother's scarcity mindset, your parents' fear of taking risks, or your culture's beliefs about who deserves wealth and who doesn't. These inherited patterns run so deep that they feel like absolute truth, but they're actually just borrowed limitations that have nothing to do with your actual potential. Here's where it gets really fascinating. There's an internal voice that most people mistake for wisdom, for humility, even for spiritual guidance. It's the voice that whispers, "You need to earn worthiness before abundance can arrive." It tells you that you must prove yourself, suffer enough, work harder, or somehow become a different person before you deserve financial freedom. This voice sounds so reasonable, so moral, that millions of people spend their entire lives trying to satisfy its impossible demands. But this voice of unworthiness isn't divine truth. It's collective illusion, masquerading as spiritual insight. Real divine truth operates from a completely different frequency. It recognizes that abundance is your natural state, that wealth flows to you not because you've earned it through struggle, but because you've aligned yourself with the laws that govern prosperity. The journey isn't about becoming worthy of abundance. It's about remembering that you already are. This shift in understanding changes everything about how you approach wealth creation. Instead of asking, "How can I work harder to make more money?" you start asking, "What beliefs are blocking the natural flow of abundance through my life?" Instead of trying to force external circumstances to change, you begin transforming the internal landscape that creates those circumstances. The impact of this revelation extends far beyond your bank account. When you recognize that your financial reality is a reflection of your consciousness rather than your circumstances, you reclaim your power as the architect of your own abundance. Write in the comments, "I'm ready for this transformation," if this resonates with your journey. Now, here's where the journey takes a fascinating turn that most wealth teachings completely overlook. When you truly align your words with spiritual truth, something remarkable happens in the invisible realm. The actual substance of wealth begins to form. This isn't metaphorical or symbolic. There's a real energetic process taking place that operates according to precise spiritual laws, and it happens without any manipulation, force, or struggle on your part. Think about it this way. When you speak words that are in harmony with divine truth about abundance, you're essentially giving instructions to the creative forces of the universe. You're not trying to convince anyone or bargain with cosmic powers. You're simply aligning yourself with laws that are already in operation, laws that govern how prosperity manifests in physical reality. It's similar to how a radio works. You don't create the radio waves, you simply tune into the frequency that's already broadcasting. But here's the hidden obstacle that sabotages this process for most people. Your mind has been unconsciously trained, probably since childhood, to operate like a sophisticated scanning device that constantly monitors what's missing from your life. Right now, without even realizing it, you might be mentally checking for absent money, delayed results, rising bills, or growing fears about your financial security. This mental programming runs in the background of your consciousness, like software you never installed but somehow ended up running your entire financial experience. This lack consciousness doesn't just make you feel bad, it actually creates an energetic frequency that repels the very abundance you're trying to attract. It's like trying to fill a bucket that has holes in the bottom. No matter how much you pour in, it keeps draining out because the container itself is compromised. Your mind, when trained to scan for lack, becomes a compromised container for abundance. Most people have no idea this is happening because the programming is so subtle and so normalized in our culture. We're taught that it's responsible to worry about money, practical to focus on problems, and realistic to expect struggle. But these aren't neutral observations. They're active instructions to your subconscious mind about what to create more of in your experience. The transformation begins when you recognize that your attention is like a powerful magnet. Whatever you consistently focus on, you magnetize into your reality. If you're constantly scanning for what's wrong, missing, or insufficient, you're unconsciously placing orders for more scarcity. But when you train your mind to scan for abundance, opportunities, and divine provision instead, you begin magnetizing prosperity with the same natural ease. This shift requires making a conscious decision about where you direct your mental energy throughout each day. It means catching yourself in those automatic moments when your mind starts its familiar scan for lack and gently redirecting it toward recognition of abundance. It's not about denying challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to focus on solutions, possibilities, and the unlimited creative potential that's always available to you. The impact of this seemingly simple change ripples through every area of your financial life. Suddenly, you start noticing opportunities you were blind to before. You begin having conversations that lead to unexpected income. You find yourself making decisions from a place of abundance rather than scarcity, and those decisions create completely different results. If this message created a shift inside you, if you felt that moment of recognition when truth met your spirit, show that connection by giving this video a like. It's a simple way to acknowledge the energy we've shared and the transformation that's beginning. Write, "I choose abundance," in the comments if you're ready to retrain your mental scanning system. Now, let me reveal something that will completely shift your relationship with money forever. Most people have this backwards relationship with financial energy, where they position themselves as servants, begging for provision, hoping money will somehow favor them if they work hard enough or sacrifice enough. But when you truly understand your divine identity and align your words with spiritual vibration, something profound happens. Money must appear, not as a favor being granted to you, but as a direct reflection of your consciousness. This positioning changes everything about how you interact with financial energy. You're no longer a servant desperately hoping for money's approval. You become the master who commands financial flow. Think about that shift for a moment. Instead of asking, "Will money come to me?" you start declaring, "Money flows to me because I am aligned with abundance." The difference isn't just in the words, it's in the entire energetic stance you take toward prosperity. Behind the scenes of every financial struggle is this fundamental misunderstanding about where wealth actually originates. Most people believe wealth exists somewhere out there in the world, waiting to be found, earned, or somehow captured through the right strategy or opportunity. They spend their lives searching for the perfect job, the ideal business, the winning investment, thinking that's where their abundance lives. But here's the revelation that changes everything. Your wealth doesn't wait in the world. It waits in your word. Every declaration you make, every affirmation you speak, every conscious agreement you form with spiritual law becomes the container that shapes your financial reality. Your bank account can only reveal what you've already declared in consciousness. If you've been unconsciously declaring struggle through your words, thoughts, and expectations, that's exactly what manifests. But when you begin consciously declaring abundance, prosperity, and divine provision, those declarations become the blueprint that reality must follow. This isn't about positive thinking or wishful affirmations. This is about understanding that your spoken word carries creative power that actively shapes the invisible realm where all manifestation begins. When you say, "I never have enough money," you're not just describing your current situation. You're placing an order for more of the same experience. But when you declare, "Abundance flows to me easily and naturally," you're giving instructions to the creative forces that respond to your consciousness. The transformation happens when you realize that your words aren't just reflecting your reality, they're creating it. Every conversation about money, every internal dialogue about your finances, every casual comment about your economic situation is actively programming your subconscious mind and sending signals to the universe about what you expect to receive. This awareness brings tremendous responsibility, but also incredible empowerment. It means you're not at the mercy of external circumstances economic conditions, or other people's decisions about your worth. Your financial destiny is being shaped moment by moment through the words you choose, the declarations you make, and the agreements you form with spiritual law. The journey from financial servant to financial master begins with this fundamental recognition of where your true power lies. Write, "I am the master," in the comments if you're ready to claim your authority over financial energy. Now, here's a revelation that will fundamentally change how you view your current financial situation and give you the keys to transform it from the inside out. Those circumstances you're looking at right now, your bank balance, your income level, your monthly expenses, even your debt, none of these are the source of your supply. They're simply the results, the external reflection of your internal consciousness of supply. This distinction is absolutely crucial because it means you can change your results by transforming your consciousness rather than exhausting yourself trying to manipulate external conditions. Most people have this completely backwards. They look at their current financial circumstances and think, "This is my reality. This is what I have to work with." They believe their bank account determines their possibilities, their current income sets their limitations, and their past financial mistakes define their future potential. But that's like looking at a mirror and thinking the reflection is creating the image, when actually the image is being created by what's standing in front of the mirror. Your financial circumstances are the mirror. Your consciousness of supply is what's creating the reflection. When you understand this fundamental principle, you realize that trying to change your financial results by working only in the external world is like trying to fix your appearance by polishing the mirror. The real transformation happens when you change what's creating the reflection in the first place. This understanding opens up possibilities that seem almost miraculous to people who are still operating from the old paradigm. I've personally witnessed situations where the entire tide of someone's financial experience turned with a single, powerful declaration spoken in absolute faith, not over months or years, but sometimes within days or even hours. The external circumstances hadn't changed yet, but the consciousness that creates circumstances had shifted so dramatically that the new results had to follow. Behind the scenes of every sudden financial breakthrough is this invisible shift in consciousness that preceded the visible change. The person didn't get a new job and then become abundant. They became abundant in consciousness first, and then the new job appeared. They didn't win the lottery and then feel wealthy. They aligned with wealth consciousness, and then unexpected money manifested in their experience. This is why some people can lose everything and rebuild their fortune quickly, while others struggle for decades despite having every apparent advantage. It's not about the external resources, it's about the internal relationship with abundance. When someone truly knows they are connected to infinite supply, temporary setbacks become just that, temporary. But when someone believes their worth is tied to their current circumstances, even small financial challenges can feel overwhelming. The journey from circumstance-based thinking to consciousness-based living requires making decisions from a completely different place. Instead of looking at your bank account and deciding what's possible, you connect with your inner knowing of abundance and let that guide your choices. Instead of letting current limitations dictate your actions, you act from the consciousness of already having what you desire. This shift in approach creates ripple effects that extend far beyond your financial life, touching every relationship, opportunity, and experience that comes your way. Write, "I create my reality" in the comments if you're ready to stop letting circumstances define your possibilities. Now, let me share something that will completely revolutionize how you approach wealth creation and remove all the uncertainty, anxiety, and randomness that most people associate with financial success. What we're talking about here isn't some mystical game of luck or cosmic lottery where you hope the universe randomly chooses to bless you with abundance. This is an exact spiritual science governed by precise laws that operate with the same consistency and reliability as any natural law you can observe. Think about gravity for a moment. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or whether you believe in it. When you drop something, it falls. Gravity doesn't play favorites, it doesn't have moods, and it doesn't require you to earn its cooperation. It simply operates according to exact principles that produce predictable results every single time. The laws that govern wealth manifestation work exactly the same way. They never fail when spoken in faith and applied with proper understanding. This revelation transforms wealth creation from something unpredictable and stressful into something as reliable and natural as any other scientific process. When you understand the principles behind how abundance flows, you can create wealth with the same confidence that an engineer builds a bridge or a chef follows a recipe. The mystery disappears, the anxiety dissolves, and you begin operating from a place of certainty rather than hope. You've just experienced what it feels like to have your consciousness shifted in real time. If you want to continue this journey with others who are breaking free from financial limitation and stepping into prosperity consciousness, subscribe and become part of this community of conscious creators. Here's where most people get completely confused about the whole process. They think wealth is some kind of reward that must be earned through struggle, sacrifice, or proving their worthiness to some cosmic judge who decides whether they deserve prosperity. But wealth isn't a reward, it's law. And law doesn't operate based on emotions, personal history, or moral judgments. It requires only one thing: agreement. When you truly align with the law of abundance, when you speak it in faith and live from that consciousness, wealth must manifest in your experience. Not because you've earned it, not because you've suffered enough, not because you've finally become worthy, but because you've activated a spiritual law that operates with mathematical precision. It's as impersonal and reliable as the law that makes water boil at a specific temperature or causes seeds to grow when planted in proper conditions. This understanding completely eliminates the emotional drama that most people create around money. You stop asking questions like, "Do I deserve this?" or "Have I worked hard enough?" and start asking, "Am I aligned with the law?" You stop trying to prove your worthiness and start focusing on proper application of principles. The journey becomes less about earning and more about understanding, less about struggling and more about aligning. Behind the scenes of every consistent wealth creator is this fundamental recognition that abundance flows according to law, not luck. They don't hope for good fortune. They activate spiritual principles. They don't cross their fingers and wish for the best. They speak declarations that set laws in motion. They operate from certainty because they understand they're working with forces that never fail when properly engaged. The transformation from hoping to knowing, from wishing to declaring, from earning to receiving, happens when you make this crucial shift in understanding. Write, "I trust the law" in the comments if you're ready to move from luck-based thinking to law-based abundance. Now let me take you even deeper into understanding the true mechanics of abundance by revealing where your supply actually originates. Most people have built their entire financial strategy around the wrong source. They think their employer is their source, their family connections are their source, their talents and skills are their source, or their business is their source. But here's the hidden truth that changes everything. God alone is your source of supply. Everything else is simply a channel through which that infinite source chooses to flow. This distinction transforms your entire relationship with money and security. When you believe your job is your source, you live in constant fear of losing it. When you think your talents are your source, you worry about competition or becoming obsolete. When you see your business as your source, market fluctuations can send you into panic. But when you recognize that the divine is your source and everything else is just a temporary channel, you operate from unshakable confidence. Every stream, every channel, every manifestation of wealth must obey this truth when you speak it with proper spiritual authority. Your employer doesn't decide your income, divine supply does, and it uses your employer as a vehicle. Your clients don't determine your prosperity, infinite abundance does, and it flows through your client relationships. This understanding frees you from the exhausting process of trying to control and manipulate external channels, allowing you to focus on aligning with the source itself. Behind the scenes of this alignment is a powerful spiritual principle that most people never learn to activate. The law of prosperity states that what you affirm in spirit must appear in substance when declared in faith. But here's the crucial part that trips up so many people. This law doesn't move until you speak it. It doesn't rearrange circumstances until you make clear declarations with authority. The universe is waiting for your instruction, but it won't act on your unspoken hopes or silent wishes. Think about this carefully. You could have the most beautiful relationship with Divine Source. You could feel deeply connected to infinite abundance. You could meditate on prosperity for hours every day, but if you're not speaking declarations with authority, the law remains dormant. It's like having electricity, available in your walls, but never flipping the switch. The power is there, but it needs activation through your conscious command. This is why some people seem to effortlessly attract wealth, while others struggle despite being equally spiritual or hardworking. The difference isn't in their connection to Source. It's in their willingness to speak that connection into manifestation. They understand that faith without declaration is incomplete, that knowing without speaking lacks the power to transform circumstances. The journey from silent hope to spoken authority represents one of the most significant transformations you can make in your relationship with abundance. It's the difference between being a passive recipient who waits for good things to happen and an active co-creator who calls forth divine supply through conscious declaration. Write, "I speak my abundance," in the comments if you're ready to activate the law through your authoritative voice. Now let me reveal a fundamental law of consciousness that will give you complete control over your mental landscape and transform your entire financial reality from the inside out. There's a hidden truth about how your mind operates that most people never discover, yet it holds the key to breaking free from every limiting thought pattern that's been sabotaging your abundance. The law of substitution governs all thought, and once you understand this principle, you'll never feel powerless against negative thinking. Again, here's the revelation. Your mind cannot think two thoughts simultaneously. It's neurologically impossible. If you're thinking of lack, you cannot simultaneously think of abundance. If you're focused on scarcity, you cannot at the same exact moment be focused on prosperity. Your consciousness can only hold one dominant thought at a time. This discovery changes everything about how you approach mental transformation. Most people try to fight their negative thoughts, resist their fears, or push away their limiting beliefs. But that's like trying to remove darkness by fighting it. The more energy you put into battling the darkness, the more you're focusing on darkness. The law of substitution teaches us that eliminating poverty thoughts isn't about fighting them. It's about replacing them with abundance thoughts so completely that there's no room for lack consciousness to exist. Behind the scenes of every mental breakthrough is this process of conscious substitution happening in real time. When fear about unpaid bills starts to rise in your consciousness, instead of trying to suppress that fear or argue with it, you immediately substitute it with a higher truth. Every bill is paid by divine supply. You're not denying the bills exist. You're choosing which thought gets to dominate your mental space and therefore influence your reality. When doubt whispers its familiar limitations, you'll never have enough. Money is too hard to make. People like you don't get wealthy. You don't engage in internal arguments or try to convince doubt that it's wrong. You simply answer with unwavering authority. My wealth is unlimited because God is my inexhaustible source. This isn't positive thinking. This is strategic consciousness management based on spiritual law. The impact of this active substitution practice extends far beyond momentary mood improvement. Each time you consciously replace a limiting thought with an abundant truth, you're literally rewiring your neural pathways. You're training your subconscious mind to default to prosperity consciousness instead of scarcity programming. You're transforming your mental landscape from a battlefield into a garden where only abundance thoughts can take root and flourish. The journey from reactive thinking to conscious thought substitution requires making split-second decisions throughout your day. Every time a limiting thought presents itself, you have a choice. Engage with it and feed it with your attention, or immediately substitute it with a truth that aligns with your highest good. This constant practice of substitution becomes the foundation for every other transformation you want to create in your financial life. Write, "I choose my thoughts," in the comments if you're ready to take complete control of your mental landscape. Now, here's a spiritual principle that will revolutionize how you understand the creative power of your attention and show you why consistency in your thoughts and declarations isn't just helpful, it's absolutely essential for manifesting wealth. In the realm of consciousness, there is no neutral ground. Every single word you speak functions as a seed being planted in the invisible realm, and every thought you entertain serves as the soil in which those seeds either flourish or wither. This means that what you consistently dwell upon grows in your experience with the same inevitability that planted seeds grow in fertile ground. When you repeatedly focus on abundance, think about prosperity, and speak words of wealth, you're literally cultivating a garden of financial increase in your consciousness. But when you dwell on lack, worry about scarcity, or constantly rehearse financial fears, you're growing exactly what you don't want with the same precision. Behind the scenes of every manifestation, whether positive or negative, is this simple but powerful truth. What you fear, you feed with your energy. Every time you give mental attention to a financial worry, you're actually feeding that possibility with the creative force of your consciousness. Every moment you spend imagining worst-case scenarios, you're watering the seeds of limitation. But what you declare with faith and consistency, you demonstrate in reality because you're nourishing those declarations with the most powerful force in the universe, focused consciousness. When content changes how you see yourself and your possibilities, it deserves recognition. If you received value from these teachings and feel more aligned with abundance than when you started, a like lets me know this message reached the right person at the right time. The transformation from unconscious creation to deliberate manifestation requires understanding this principle at the deepest level. You're always creating something with your thoughts and words. The question isn't whether you have creative power. The question is whether you're using that power consciously or unconsciously. Most people are unconsciously creating more of what they don't want, simply because they haven't learned to guard their mental garden. Here's where many people sabotage their own success without even realizing it. They practice what could be called double-mindedness, declaring abundance in their morning affirmations, but worrying about money by noon. They speak prosperity during their meditation time, but spend the rest of the day rehearsing financial fears in conversations with friends and family. This creates a chaotic energy field that prevents clear manifestation because the universe is receiving mixed signals about what you actually want to experience. Double-mindedness creates instability in every area of your life, but especially in your finances. It's like trying to drive a car while simultaneously pressing the gas and the brake. You create a lot of noise and heat, but you don't get where you want to go. To create consistent wealth, you must become single-minded in wealth consciousness, developing unwavering loyalty to your declarations regardless of what temporary circumstances might suggest. The journey towards single-minded abundance requires making moment-by-moment decisions to choose abundance vibration over lack, prosperity thoughts over poverty patterns, and wealth declarations over worry-filled conversations. Write, "I am single-minded" in the comments if you're committed to maintaining consistent wealth consciousness throughout each day. Now, let me share with you one of the most powerful revelations that will completely transform how you view your relationship with divine provision and remove every trace of guilt, shame, or unworthiness from your financial journey. There's a timeless biblical principle that most people have heard, but few truly understand in its full impact. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Think about what this statement is actually declaring. If divine guidance is leading your life, if you're truly walking in spiritual alignment, then lack cannot follow you because want is simply not part of the divine equation. This isn't just beautiful poetry. It's a fundamental truth about how the universe operates when you're in proper relationship with divine source. The very nature of divine guidance inherently includes provision, support, and abundance. This understanding completely reframes how you interpret financial challenges in your life. When you experience financial strain, it's not because you're being punished, tested, or because you're somehow unworthy of abundance. It's simply an indicator that somewhere in your consciousness, you've moved out of alignment with the spiritual laws that govern prosperity. It's like a dashboard warning light in your car. It's not there to shame you. It's there to alert you that something needs attention. Behind the scenes of every financial struggle is this fundamental misalignment that can be corrected once you understand what's really happening. Your lack isn't evidence of your unworthiness. Your delays aren't divine punishment for past mistakes. Your financial difficulties aren't spiritual warfare being waged against you. These interpretations come from religious programming that has nothing to do with how divine law actually operates. Instead, financial challenges are simply signals that you've unconsciously accepted worldly hypnosis about money, effort, and deservingness. Maybe you've bought into the belief that money is hard to earn, that abundance requires struggle, or that spiritual people shouldn't desire material wealth. These thoughts create misalignment with divine law because they contradict the truth that infinite source wants to flow abundantly through your life. The transformation happens when you stop interpreting financial difficulties as evidence of your spiritual inadequacy and start seeing them as navigational feedback. It's like adjusting the tuning on a radio. You're not broken if you can't hear the station clearly. You just need to fine-tune your frequency until you're aligned with the signal that's already broadcasting. This shift in understanding brings tremendous relief and empowerment. You're not fighting against some cosmic force that doesn't want you to prosper. You're not trying to convince a reluctant universe to bless you with abundance. You're simply learning to align your consciousness with laws that are already designed to support your highest good, including material prosperity. The journey from self-blame to self-correction, from shame to alignment, begins when you recognize that divine source is always seeking to provide for you, and any experience of lack is simply an invitation to return to proper spiritual frequency. Write, "I am worthy of abundance" in the comments if you're ready to release every trace of unworthiness from your financial journey. Now let me share a revelation that will give you the exact mechanism for aligning with abundance and show you how to tune into wealth with the same precision that you tune into your favorite radio station. Wealth is like a radio frequency that's already broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The signal is always there, the abundance is always flowing, the prosperity is always available. But if your mental dial is set to worry, fear, or unworthiness, you simply cannot receive what's already being transmitted. Think about this carefully. When you can't pick up a radio station, the problem isn't that the station stopped broadcasting. The problem is that you're not tuned to the right frequency. The same principle applies to abundance. Divine provision is constantly available, but you have to tune yourself to the channel of divine supply to receive it. Here's the hidden truth that most people never discover. Your tongue functions as your tuning fork. Every declaration you make, every affirmation you speak, every word you choose is literally adjusting your frequency and determining what you can receive. When you speak words of lack, you're tuning into the scarcity channel. When you declare abundance, you're tuning into the prosperity frequency. This isn't metaphorical. This is the actual mechanism through which consciousness shapes reality. Behind the scenes of this transformation is a fundamental shift in how you use your voice throughout each day. From this moment forward, you must replace every complaint with a command, every fear with a formula, and every doubt with a declaration. This isn't about forcing positivity or pretending problems don't exist. This is about choosing which frequency you want to broadcast on and which reality you want to tune into. The transformation you felt during this video is just the beginning. I regularly share principles, practices, and revelations that help people like you align with divine abundance. Subscribe so you never miss the teaching that could be the key to your next breakthrough. When the world tells you to be realistic about your financial limitations, you respond with, "I walk in supernatural supply." When colleagues complain about the economy, you declare, "Divine abundance flows regardless of external conditions." When lack appears in your bank account, instead of reacting with panic, you immediately declare resolution in the invisible realm before it manifests in the visible. This practice requires making split-second decisions about how you'll respond to every challenging circumstance that presents itself. The old pattern is to react with worry, fear, or complaint. The new pattern is to respond with commands that align you with divine frequency. Each time you choose the command over the complaint, you're literally retuning your consciousness to a higher channel where different possibilities exist. The impact of this transformation extends far beyond your financial life. When you become someone who responds to challenges with declarations rather than worries, you develop an unshakable confidence that affects every relationship, every opportunity, and every decision you make. You begin operating from a place of spiritual authority rather than circumstantial reactivity. The journey from reactive speech to conscious declaration represents one of the most powerful shifts you can make in your entire approach to life. Write, "I speak" commands in the comments if you're ready to use your voice as a tuning fork for divine abundance. Now, let me take you to the core of what might be the most important decision you'll ever make about your financial future, the decision to break your loyalty to limitation once and for all. For too long, your mind has been faithful to thoughts that keep you small, devoted to beliefs that restrict your possibilities, and committed to patterns that guarantee struggle. But loyalty should only be given to what serves your highest good, and limitation has never served anyone. If your mind has been loyal to limitation, declaring that money is hard to earn, that abundance requires sacrifice, or that financial security is reserved for others, it's time to break that loyalty completely. If your tongue has been repeatedly speaking lack, rehearsing scarcity, or affirming struggle, it's time to declare a new economy in your life, one built not on effort but on essence, not on savings but on spirit, not on market conditions but on the unlimited power of your mind aligned with divine law. Behind the scenes of this transformation is a fundamental shift in allegiance. You're literally changing sides in the battle between limitation and abundance, choosing to serve a different master. Instead of being loyal to the voice that says, "This is too good to be true," or "People like me don't get wealthy," you become devoted to the truth that infinite possibilities are your birthright and abundance is your natural state. This decision to break loyalty with limitation creates ripple effects that transform every area of your experience. When you're no longer committed to proving that money is hard to come by, you become available to discover how easily it can flow. When you stop being faithful to struggle, you open yourself to receive divine provision through effortless channels. The practical application of this shift begins the moment you open your eyes each morning. What you speak at sunrise literally commands the substance of your entire day. This isn't just about starting with a positive attitude. This is about understanding that your morning declarations don't simply motivate you, they actually instruct the invisible realm to rise in obedience to your spoken word. The first words that leave your mouth should never be complaints about how tired you feel, worries about the day ahead, or rehearsals of your problems. These innocent-seeming phrases are actually setting the energetic tone for everything that follows. Instead, your first words should be commands that establish divine order, declarations that call forth abundance, and affirmations that set the spiritual tone for miraculous possibility. When you wake up and immediately speak words like, "Divine abundance flows through me today," or "Unexpected channels of supply now open to me," you're giving the universe its marching orders. You're establishing the frequency on which your day will operate, and you're activating laws that must respond to your conscious direction. The journey from unconscious morning routines to intentional sunrise declarations represents a fundamental shift in how you approach each day and ultimately how you approach your entire life. Write, "I break all loyalty to lack" in the comments if you're ready to pledge your allegiance to abundance instead of limitation. Now, let me give you the exact foundation phrase that will revolutionize your mornings and set the energetic tone for miraculous provision to flow into your life. "Unexpected channels of supply now open to me" should become your non-negotiable declaration, the first conscious instruction you give to the universe each day. Speak it before your feet touch the floor. Whisper it while brushing your teeth. Declare it while pouring your coffee. This isn't a request you're making. You're authorizing and instructing divine mind that you're ready for the new, the unexpected, the abundant. The power in this specific phrase lies in how it opens your consciousness to receive from directions you never anticipated. Most people limit their supply by focusing only on known sources, their job, their business, their clients. But when you declare that unexpected channels are opening, you're giving permission for abundance to flow through any avenue the universe chooses. You're releasing control over how your good arrives and trusting divine intelligence to orchestrate the perfect delivery system. Behind the scenes of this declaration is a fundamental shift in your relationship with receiving. You stop trying to figure out how abundance will come and start focusing on being ready when it arrives. You move from the anxiety of controlling outcomes to the confidence of knowing that infinite creativity is working on your behalf to open pathways you couldn't have imagined. This transformation in understanding leads to a crucial revelation that changes everything about how you view money itself. Money is not your source. It's simply a vehicle, a temporary form that true supply chooses to take in your experience. The real supply is invisible, infinite, and immediately available at all times. It exists in the realm of pure potential, waiting to take whatever shape your consciousness calls forth. When you truly grasp this distinction, you realize that the clearer your command, the faster the form of money arrives in your experience. Money becomes responsive to your consciousness rather than dependent on external circumstances. Instead of wondering if there's enough money available, you start understanding that there's unlimited supply available, and money is just one of countless forms it can take. This understanding liberates you from the fear and anxiety that comes from believing money is scarce or hard to create. You begin operating from the knowledge that supply is infinite and immediate, while money is simply the temporary costume that supply wears when it wants to show up in your bank account. The substance behind the form never runs out, never gets depleted, and never stops flowing. It only waits for your conscious direction about what shape it should take. The journey from seeing money as source to understanding money as vehicle represents one of the most liberating shifts you can make in your entire relationship with abundance. Write, "Supply flows through me," in the comments if you're ready to receive from unexpected channels. Now, here's where your faith meets the ultimate test, and where most people either break through to a new level of abundance or fall back into old patterns of limitation. When your physical eyes see empty bank accounts, when the numbers on the screen seem to mock your declarations, when appearances suggest that nothing is working, this is precisely the moment when you must refuse to bow to what you see and instead speak over what appears to be real. The hidden truth that separates those who manifest wealth from those who remain stuck is this: you must deny appearances and speak over them with unwavering authority. When that bank balance looks low, you don't surrender to the illusion. Instead, you declare with absolute conviction, "Though this number looks low, I know my storehouse is full." You're not denying mathematics. You're denying the permanent reality of temporary appearances. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is someone who refused to let current circumstances dictate their declarations. They understood that waiting for proof before feeling wealthy is backwards thinking. The spiritual law operates in reverse. You must declare wealth until proof has no choice but to appear. You must speak abundance until reality rearranges itself to match your word. This transformation from appearance-based thinking to truth-based declaring requires intensive training, and I want to give you a specific 3-day protocol that will rewire your consciousness and establish new neural pathways for abundance. On day 1, your morning declaration becomes, "Every bill is paid by divine mind." This isn't about having enough income to cover expenses. This is about placing your complete trust in infinite supply that operates beyond the limitations of your current financial resources. Day 2 shifts your focus to expansion. I welcome unexpected wealth. This declaration opens unseen gates in consciousness and removes all limitations on how abundance can reach you. You're no longer restricting supply to familiar channels or known sources. You're authorizing the universe to surprise you through avenues you never considered. Day 3 establishes your spiritual authority. Money is not my master. I am money's commander. This declaration completely reverses the power dynamic between you and financial energy. You stop being a servant who begs for money's favor and become the master who directs its flow. This isn't arrogance. This is understanding your divine identity and operating from that truth. Each morning declaration becomes a building block in constructing a completely new relationship with abundance, one where you respond to challenges with authority rather than anxiety. Right, I speak over appearances in the comments if you're ready to deny the evidence of temporary circumstances and declare the truth of infinite supply. Now, let me reveal something that most people completely overlook in their abundance journey, yet it holds equal power to transform your financial reality. While you've been learning to command your mornings, the evening hours are equally sacred, because what you impress upon your mind in those final moments before sleep goes directly into your subconscious, where it multiplies silently through the night, working on your behalf while your conscious mind rests. Think about this carefully. Your subconscious mind doesn't sleep when your body does. It continues processing, creating, and arranging circumstances based on the last instructions you gave it before drifting off. If you end your day rehearsing financial worries, replaying conversations about money problems, or mentally reviewing everything that went wrong, you're literally programming your subconscious to create more of those experiences while you sleep. Behind the scenes of every morning breakthrough is often the work that was done in consciousness the night before. You must guard the gate at sundown just as vigilantly as you command the dawn. Don't let the appearances of the day cast long shadows into your dreams. The disappointments, the delayed payments, the unexpected expenses, none of these temporary experiences should be allowed to contaminate the sacred space where your subconscious does its most powerful creative work. This transformation from unconscious evening programming to intentional nighttime preparation requires establishing a nightly cleansing ritual. Begin by forgiving the day and any anxious thoughts that tried to take root in your consciousness. Speak this with genuine release. Every appearance of lack is a lie. I forgive it and replace it. You're not just being positive, you're literally washing your mental slate clean so that divine truth can be impressed upon it. Then comes the programming phase, where you give your subconscious its nighttime assignment. Declare with quiet authority, "Tonight, divine supply multiplies in silence." This isn't a request, it's an instruction to the part of your mind that never stops working. You're telling your subconscious to spend the next 8 hours expanding your capacity to receive, opening new channels of abundance, and arranging circumstances that will support your financial breakthrough. The impact of this evening practice extends far beyond a good night's sleep. Your subconscious mind is incredibly powerful when given clear direction. It works through the night making connections, inspiring ideas, and orchestrating synchronicities that your conscious mind could never arrange. But it can only work with the materials you give it in those crucial moments before sleep. The journey from worry-filled nights to abundance-programmed rest represents a fundamental shift in how you end each day and prepare for the possibilities of tomorrow. Write, "I program my nights," in the comments if you're ready to use your evening hours for conscious abundance creation. Now, let me take you deeper into the progressive evening training that will completely transform your subconscious programming and establish an unshakable foundation for abundance in your life. This isn't just about speaking pleasant words before bed. This is about systematically reprogramming the deepest levels of your consciousness with declarations that become more powerful each night. Your first evening declaration becomes, "I now receive lavish abundance." Notice the specificity here. You're not asking for small relief from financial pressure or just enough to get by. You're declaring lavish abundance, overflowing extravagance, more than you could spend or even imagine. This declaration breaks the unconscious programming that suggests you should be modest in your desires or humble in your expectations. Divine Source knows no limitation, and your declarations should reflect that same unlimited nature. The second night shifts to receptivity. "The doors of wealth are always open to me." This declaration maintains your consciousness in a state of constant availability to receive, regardless of what temporary appearances might suggest. Even when external circumstances seem closed, even when opportunities appear limited, you're programming your subconscious to know that wealth has unlimited pathways to reach you. Night 3 removes the expectation of struggle. What I need comes quickly and freely. Behind the scenes of most financial limitation is the unconscious belief that good things take time, that abundance requires difficulty, or that you must wait and work hard before receiving what you desire. This declaration dissolves those limiting expectations and establishes a new rhythm where supply responds immediately to genuine need. The transformation deepens on the seventh night when you declare, I am aligned with the law of increase. This becomes more than a nightly declaration. It becomes your permanent rhythm and identity. When you truly align with the law of increase, decrease becomes impossible in your experience. When you consistently declare expansion, contraction cannot remain because you've shifted into a consciousness where growth is the only possibility. This alignment with increase creates what could be called a lifestyle of consistent abundance. You stop experiencing the up and down financial cycles that plague most people. Instead of good months followed by struggle, you establish a steady, upward trajectory where each level of abundance becomes the foundation for the next level of expansion. The journey from random financial experiences to consistent abundance lifestyle happens when you make this progressive evening programming a non-negotiable part of your daily spiritual practice. Write, I align with increase in the comments if you're ready to make consistent expansion your new normal. Now let me expose the hidden programming that's been sabotaging your abundance from the very beginning and show you how to break free from financial limitations that were never yours to carry in the first place. From childhood, you've been unconsciously downloading cultural spells about money that have nothing to do with divine truth and everything to do with collective fear and limitation. You were taught that money is hard to earn, that riches come only to a fortunate few, that good people are supposed to struggle financially, and that only greedy or corrupt individuals prosper. These aren't divine truths. These are cultural spells, family echoes, and societal myths that have been passed down through generations, like invisible chains binding each new generation to the same limitations their parents and grandparents accepted. Behind the scenes of your current financial reality are these inherited belief systems, operating like invisible software running in the background of your consciousness. Most people never realize they're living out their family's financial programming rather than their own divine potential. But here's the revelation that changes everything. You inherit your financial future from your belief line, not your bloodline. Your bank account reflects your consciousness, not your genetics. The transformation begins when you identify and consciously replace the limiting phrases that have been programming your subconscious for decades. Every time someone said, money doesn't grow on trees, they were unconsciously installing scarcity programming in your young mind. But you can reprogram this limiting belief by replacing it with spiritual truth. Money grows from spiritual law, and the law is rooted in me. This substitution transforms your relationship with abundance from scarcity-based to source-based. Another deadly phrase that must be eliminated is, I can't afford that. Every time you speak these words, you're reinforcing limitation and announcing to the universe that your supply is insufficient. Instead, train yourself to respond with, if this is mine by divine right, the supply appears. This substitution keeps you aligned with possibility rather than restriction and allows divine intelligence to determine what belongs in your experience. The impact of these conscious substitutions extends far beyond changing your vocabulary. Each time you replace a limiting phrase with an abundant truth, you're literally rewiring neural pathways and reprogramming your subconscious mind. You're breaking agreements with lack and forming new contracts with abundance. You're canceling subscriptions to limitation and subscribing to unlimited supply. This process of conscious reprogramming requires vigilance and consistency. You must catch yourself in the moment when old phrases want to emerge and immediately substitute them with higher truths that align with your divine nature and unlimited potential. Write, I break old programming in the comments if you're ready to release inherited limitations and install abundance consciousness instead. Now, let me address one of the most damaging spiritual misconceptions that keeps good-hearted people trapped in financial limitation and prevents them from stepping into the abundance they're designed to experience. Somewhere along the journey, many people develop the false belief that there's virtue in financial lack, that struggling with money somehow makes them more spiritual, more humble, or more deserving of divine favor. This couldn't be further from the truth. There is no virtue in lack, no holiness in financial insufficiency, and no spiritual benefit to living in constant worry about bills and expenses. This misguided thinking actually limits your ability to serve others and make the positive impact you were designed to create in the world. You cannot pour abundantly into others when your own cup is empty. You cannot serve the world fully while living in fear of your own financial security. Behind the scenes of every truly effective servant, every generous giver, every person making a significant positive impact, is someone who has learned to walk in financial abundance. They understand that prosperity isn't greed. It's positioning yourself to be a greater blessing to others. When you have more than enough, you can give without restraint, support causes that matter, and respond to needs without calculating whether you can afford to help. The transformation from poverty consciousness to prosperity consciousness requires developing practical tools for managing your moment-to-moment thought patterns. Let me give you a powerful formula that will override decades of limiting programming when used consistently. I call it the CRC formula: cancel, replace, command. When lack thoughts arise, and they will, especially in the beginning, immediately activate this three-step process. First, cancel the lie by speaking aloud, "I cancel that." You're not arguing with the thought or trying to understand why it came. You're simply refusing to give it any mental real estate. Second, replace the thought with abundant truth. When "there's never enough" tries to establish itself, you immediately substitute "I walk in more than enough." Third, command the atmosphere by declaring, "Every cell of my being attracts divine wealth." This formula must be used repeatedly, consistently, and without hesitation. Every time a limiting thought presents itself, you override it with this process. You're literally retraining your mental reflexes, building new neural pathways, and establishing abundance consciousness as your default setting. The old patterns lose power through lack of attention, while the new patterns gain strength through consistent reinforcement. The journey from reactive thinking to conscious thought management represents one of the most powerful skills you can develop, affecting not just your finances, but every area of your life experience. Write, "I use the CRC formula" in the comments if you're ready to actively override limiting thoughts with abundant truth. Now let me reveal the most powerful transformation technique that will completely overwhelm your old limiting patterns and establish abundance consciousness as your new default operating system. Reprogramming your financial mindset isn't about occasional positive thinking or sporadic affirmations. It requires saturating your mind with divine increase until fear literally cannot breathe. Doubt withers from complete lack of attention, and those old mental grooves are entirely overwritten with golden tracks of spiritual dominion. Think about how water eventually changes the shape of rock through constant, persistent flow. Your consciousness works the same way. When you flood your mind with abundance declarations repeatedly throughout each day, the old patterns of lack have nowhere to take root. The constant saturation with divine truth creates an environment where limitation simply cannot survive. Behind the scenes of every lasting financial transformation is this process of mental saturation happening consistently over time. You must begin now with repetition as your vehicle and truth as your driver. This isn't about forcing yourself to believe something that feels untrue. This is about persistently speaking truth until your consciousness naturally aligns with what you're declaring. The journey requires specific declarations that target the core areas where most people hold limitation. When you declare, "The wealth I expect I receive," you're making expectation the mold for your manifestation. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what you expect and what you experience. Expectation becomes the blueprint that reality must follow. This declaration trains your consciousness to expect abundance rather than hoping for it. Money comes easily and constantly, breaks. Ancient spells of financial strain that have convinced you wealth requires struggle, sacrifice, or extraordinary effort. This affirmation dissolves the programming that money is hard to earn and replaces it with the truth that abundance flows naturally when you're aligned with divine law. "My wealth flows from divine favor, not force," represents a complete rebalancing of your energetic economy. Instead of exhausting yourself trying to make money through sheer effort and hustle, you learn to receive abundance through spiritual alignment and divine favor. This shifts you from the paradigm of earning to the paradigm of receiving, from manipulation to magnetism. The impact of this saturation approach extends far beyond your financial life. When your mind becomes completely saturated with abundant truth, it affects how you make decisions, how you respond to challenges, how you interact with opportunities, and how you show up in every relationship and situation. Right? I saturate my mind. In the comments, if you're ready to flood your consciousness with divine abundance until limitation has no place to hide. Now let me present you with a transformation challenge that will completely revolutionize your relationship with abundance and establish wealth consciousness as your new way of being. For the next 14 days, you're going to train your mind with fire, intensity, and unwavering commitment to spiritual truth. This isn't a casual experiment. This is a complete rewiring of your financial consciousness. During these 14 days, you will not entertain scarcity thoughts even silently in your own mind. You will not discuss financial problems without immediately declaring their resolution. You will not engage in conversations that reinforce limitation, struggle, or lack. Instead, you will walk as one who is already funded, talk as one who is already supplied, and think as one who has unlimited access to divine provision. Behind the scenes of this transformation, Challenge is a systematic approach to establishing new neural pathways and dissolving old patterns permanently. Your morning declaration becomes, "My channels are open," setting the energetic tone for divine supply to flow through any avenue the universe chooses. At midday, you declare, "Money follows me," reinforcing your identity as a magnet for abundance rather than someone chasing financial security. Each evening, you seal the day with, "All is provided," programming your subconscious with the truth of infinite supply. The journey these 14 days will take you on represents a fundamental shift in identity. You are no longer someone who hopes for abundance, asks for financial favor, or tries to prove worthiness for prosperity. You are walking, receiving, and becoming abundance itself. This isn't about changing your circumstances first and then feeling wealthy. This is about embodying wealth consciousness so completely that circumstances must rearrange themselves to match your inner reality. Wealth is no longer something you wait for, work toward, or wonder about. It becomes something you walk in daily, declare consistently, and live from moment to moment. You become the demonstration of divine supply in motion, a living example of how spiritual law operates through human consciousness to create material abundance. The impact of this 14-day commitment extends far beyond temporary improvement. You're establishing a new baseline for how you think, speak, and operate in relationship to money and abundance. You're creating a lifestyle of conscious prosperity that becomes as natural as breathing. If you've stayed with me through this entire journey, you've just received something far more valuable than information. You've received transformation. The principles, declarations, and practices I've shared aren't theory. They're the exact spiritual technologies that have helped countless people break free from financial limitation and step into the abundance that was always their birthright. The fact that you're still here tells me something important about you. You're not someone who gives up easily, and you're not someone who settles for surface-level solutions. You recognize that real change happens when you're willing to go deeper, to challenge old patterns, and to commit to practices that align you with divine law rather than worldly limitation. If this message resonated with something deep inside you, if you felt that spark of recognition when I talked about your true identity as a living vessel of infinite supply, then you've found your place. This channel exists for people like you, people who are ready to transform their relationship with abundance and step into their divine inheritance. I create content like this regularly because I know there are souls out there who are hungry for truth that actually works, principles that create lasting change, and teachings that honor both your spiritual nature and your desire for material freedom. If you want to continue this journey with me, hit that subscribe button so you never miss the revelations that could shift everything for you. And if you've made it all the way to this moment, write, "This message was meant for me" in the comments. When I see those words, I'll know you're part of this community of conscious creators who refuse to accept limitation as their final answer. If this video lit something inside you, give it a like, not because I asked, but because we've created something together. a connection, an understanding, a shared commitment to abundance that deserves acknowledgement. There's a video right here that takes this transformation even deeper, showing you exactly how to maintain this new consciousness when old patterns try to resurface. Click and continue with me over there.